Thank you, Charles. Good morning to those on the West Coast, and good afternoon for those on the East Coast. My name is Carlos Aquino, and I am a compliance consultant for Pharma Diversion, and I'll begin this presentation. If you have a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to write it down as a Q&A and then forward it to our hosts, and I will get that, and I would give you an answer while doing the presentation. Okay, so let's start. My name is, again, Carlos Aquino. Again, I'm a compliance consultant for Pharma Diversion. And my disclaimer, the company disclaimer is we do not represent DEA. We do not speak on behalf of DEA. And we suggest you read the mentioned federal laws and regulations. Now, one of the things that I want you to write down is the DEA Diversion website. This www.deadiversion.usdoj.gov. Sometimes when you write it down, Google or whatever and search engine you're using will come back with the Drug Enforcement Administration Office of Diversion Control. Welcome area that you just click on it. But if you see like welcome and Office of Diversion Control, you're there. Click on that particular link in Google, and we'll take you right to the diversion website. So again, I want to talk about my experience, as Charles was saying. I have 4 years now. I retired in January of 2009 from DEA Diversion Philadelphia. I have 4 years now as a DEA compliance consultant. I've had 12 years with DEA Diversion, 8 as an investigator, 4 as a group supervisor before I retired there. And then I also had 24 years with the Philadelphia Police Department, of which the last 10 years I was assigned to the DEA task force doing investigations on illicit and pharmaceutical drugs, the diversion of illicit and pharmaceutical drugs. So I need you to understand that when it comes to a researcher or analytical lab, and primarily a researcher, you'll find it in 3 areas: in the manufacturing. You'll also find in manufacturing, commercial manufacturing. You'll also find them in the university setting when they're doing studies. And you'll also find them as a private company. So I have no idea of who the attendees are, but I'll try to cover this area and to cover all 3 of the bases. So let's start out with the researcher's registration in Schedule 1. If you're applying for a researcher's registration, there's one with DEA, with regard to DEA. One is a researcher's application for a Schedule 1, and then you have a researcher's application for Schedules 2, 3, 4, and 5. So depending on which of the 2 you'd be doing your research, it would vary as to what you plan on doing and what particular schedule drugs. If you're doing a Schedule 1, the requirements are a little bit more stringent, and there's more documentation that you're going to have to produce. If you're doing if you're working with Schedules 2, 3, 4, and 5, you would also need to provide them the required information, and that information is available on the DEA Diversion website. So for a researcher, sometimes this is very confusing, and when I work with manufacturers consulting for them, I find it that they too have a tendency of misunderstanding what the researcher can do. So just to give you an idea, a researcher may manufacture or import the basic class of a substance or substances for which registration was issued. So in plain words, if you want to do some work with some fentanyl and you want to import some of that I'm sorry, but let's go with the other methamphetamine. If you want to do some research of any other Schedule 1 product, you will need to you will need to the researcher can import the basic class of substance in that for that particular registration, provided that such manufacturing or import is set forth in a protocol that's required in Section 1301.18. And to distribute such class, the persons registered or authorized to conduct research with such class of substance, or register or authorized to conduct chemical analysis with the controlled substance. So in essence, if you look at the Section 1301.18, it's Title 21, Code of Federal Regulation. And if you type in 21 CFR 1301.18 on the Google bar, it will come back and give you that information. So again, it's very stringent when it comes to requesting or preparing an application for a Schedule 1 for research purposes. So now we go through a researcher's registration for Schedules 2 through 5. This is where sometimes manufacturers or will get this wrong, listing the purpose for this registration. It says that researchers for Schedules 2 through 5 may conduct chemical analysis with controlled substance in those schedules for which registration was issued. Manufacture such substances if and to the extent that such manufacture is set forth in a statement file with the application for registration. That's a protocol you're going to have to provide, or re-registration, which they do also update. They may require you to update your protocol, and provided that the manufacturer is not for the purpose of dosage form development. Now that's very important, because if you're going to manufacture or you're doing research purposes for dosage form development, that has to be done under a manufacturer's registration and not under a researcher's registration. And that's where sometimes manufacturers will get this wrong. And again, if you're into a university setting, and one of the things you want to know is what if they're going to manufacture for research purposes, what are they going to manufacture and for what purpose? And if it's a dosage form development, I would tell you that you may have an issue with DEA if you are ever a subject of their inspections. Then again, you can import such substance for research purposes, and then you can distribute such substance to persons registered or authorized to conduct chemical analysis. And again, instructional activities or research with such substance and to the person exempted from the registration pursuant to the Section 1301.24. And again, it all comes down to what is the purpose for doing the research.